Vanakkam, Prem Namaste and welcome to Sunday Sadhana with me Shridika Pillai and SABC2. Today's program has a touch of nostalgia to it as we step back in time, more than 100 years in fact, to visit the historic Ganesha temple in Mount Edgecombe on Durban's north coast. We also look at pioneering women from the Gramaphone era as we learn about the history of iconic Indian female voices through a performance with Vidya Shah. The Ganesha temple in Mount Edgecombe is among the oldest existing temples in South Africa. It was built around 1899 by Kistapa Reddy, a famous temple builder who was also an indentured labourer. The strong and steady temple building still stands proud today as a symbol of the resilience of the Hindu indentured labourers in maintaining their religious and cultural beliefs, even whilst in a foreign land. Sunday Sadhana visited the historic temple, which was declared a national monument in February 1977.
Old temple before 1898 was built with a wooden iron structure. So Ganesha temple was the first temple in South Africa, or KZN. It was built with brick and mortar. So this was built by a person by the name of Kistapa Reddy, who was an indentured worker in the mill. He used to work with the temple builders who were experienced in Shilpa Sastra, which is a Sastra you have to study to be a temple builder. This temple is built exactly the same as what you see some of the temples in India. And the Ganesha temples in India also built along the roadside. So all those temples are very narrow doors or small doors where you have to bow down and get in. Lord Ganesha being the first god that we have to pray for his guidance and wisdom. So when we go or enter, actually we don't even enter into the Mulasthanam because it's a sacred area, only the priest. But if the priest enters in, he has to bow down, bow to Lord Ganesha so that he can walk in. We have, after the constant maintenance because these temples have reached over 100 years. So we commissioned, a few guys from India to redo the old temple. So they took out all the plaster, the icons. When we do maintenance here, we even sandblasted the Ganesha temple. And the sandblasting never ever, disturbed the murtis or the plaster. So it shows, what a high quality of material used in 1898. It was declared a national monument in 1976. It had a lot of significance, as far as Hindu temples in South Africa is concerned. It was very interesting to especially farmers and business people who took their wares to Durban market. So in the morning before, when they passed this temple, they stopped at this temple, worshipped Lord Ganesha, asking for a good business day. The temple also had a special till built in the gopuram of the temple. So whatever donation they want to put in this, to slot it into this little till, which was lockable till, and they used to go home. And what's unique about this temple is this is the only temple at that time had a gopuram as an entrance to the courtyard of the main temple. The mill closed down in 1994, and all the land surrounding the temples were sold to businesses. So it became a commercial area. Those days we had open grounds all over the temple where we could utilize for parking, cooking facilities, feeding area. But now we are so restricted. So, when we have like the major prayer, like the Kavadi or Vinayaka Chaturthi prayer, we have major followers coming to this temple. So we have a lot of problem as far as parking is concerned. We must thank those pioneers who have set this foundation where our newer generation now, which we wouldn't have thought of building the beautiful temples. So they have laid a foundation for us to continue the work they have started in around 1875.
Welcome back. Towards the end of 2013, international performer Vidya Shah toured South Africa with her show Women on Record. The performance is a tribute to early 20th century Indian female singers who charted a way for women in the music industry. Sunday Sadhana learnt more about these pioneering women during the concert at the Market Theatre in Johannesburg.
The main artist is Miss Vidya Shah. She's a very good devotional classical music singer, and she has performed at various places in India and abroad. The theme of today's musical performance, Women on Record, celebrating the music of women in early 20th century India.
Good evening, Namaskar. I'm really delighted to be here in this beautiful country. All the way from India. It's almost like a dream come true for me.
I was introduced to this music very sort of casually, and when I first heard it, I didn't quite understand it. I was also curious about the number of names that came with that music, and I started trying to find out, and I realized that there's really very little information. And on the other hand, this is also a very important documented history of Indian music. So it set me off on a journey, actually. And it was a wonderful, learning experience for me, and a humbling one, actually, to know that so much was being done by so many artists. The performance is called Women on Record. It's about the women who sang on the Gramaphone record. It's about the women who sang on the Gramaphone record, but of whom there is no record. Music was really a thing of the salon till late 19th century, where you had the mehfils, the landlords and the zamindars and the kings and the nawabs were patronizing this music. But towards the end of the 19th century, there was a decline because of the political turbulence in the country, and the British were not particularly interested in Indian music, so they didn't want to bother with it. But then when the market came into place, the commercial interest in it was such a huge hit that these women were already popular performers at the salon level. So the move from that to the studio seemed natural for them, and so they were picked up by the labels. To that extent, they were also entrepreneurial, the women. They saw their own worth in this industry, and so they took it by the horns, and they did a really good job of it in terms of setting it in place. However, what the Gramaphone also did was bring a certain anonymity to performance. You didn't have to be seen when you were singing, And for a lot of women who came from what could be considered highly socialized, decent, respectful families, music was not an option. It was only for these other women that who were entertainers that it was okay. So for women who were interested, who were passionate about music, the Gramaphone and the anonymity that came with it provided a new opportunity. And what it also did was that when it started becoming popular, the male performers realized the worth of it, and they wanted to jump onto this bandwagon. Eventually, these women who actually set off the enterprise were slowly pushed out of the mainstream and pushed to the margins. It is important to look at the history of Indian music and also the social perspective in which it was located, which has not been done so much outside of academic writing. And the other thing is that a lot of classical music gets written off as boring and it's not exciting enough. So I think for people like me who've had the privilege of education, who had the privilege of reading up all these things, I have to find a way to share it with my audience. And I feel that if I bring a context, if I bring a story, a narrative to my music, I think people also walk away feeling, okay, this music is not alien, I can relate to it. So that was the idea. What is really pivotal in Indian music is the rapport that you share with your accompanist. There has to be a sort of it's a very sophisticated natural thing that evolves with over time and with sharing on stage. And it's really about sadhana actually at the end of the day, music.
In a true tribute to women, Swami Vivekananda once said, "The wind of divine grace is always blowing. You just need to spread your sail." So as we sail off into another week, be good and keep up the sadhana. Hari Om.